This is going to be a brief rundown of what I think are the most useful tools in any mastering engineer's toolbox. I'll go over what they're for quickly first, and over the next couple videos I'll be diving into each one of them a little deeper. First, the EQ. The EQ, or the equalizer, is of course the most used processor in any type of audio engineering, be it recording, mixing, or mastering. In simple terms, you can use the EQ to boost or cut frequencies. So for instance, when a piece of music sounds too thin, you can use an EQ to boost some of the low frequencies to make it sound a little heavier. Like so. Let me turn it on first. And this will make it sound a little fatter. Of course, the other way around, when something sounds too fat or too boomy, you can cut those frequencies and make things sound a little more balanced. Same goes for the high frequencies. Turn them up, turn them down, and all these bands in between are for the mid frequencies. Then the compressor. This is a tool you use to manipulate the dynamics of audio. In other words, the difference between loud and soft. Usually, and especially in mastering, you use a compressor to squash the peaks of the audio a bit, essentially make it flatter. I'll come back to that later. Using that flatter audio, you can raise the volume a bit, so your master ends up louder. Some people like that. Later in the course I'll explain why this is actually nonsense. The multiband compressor is essentially the exact same as a compressor, but this one allows you to split the audio into separate bands in the frequency spectrum and process each band independently. So for example, you can make two bands, one for the low, one for the mid and high, and you can compress these both at different settings. Why this is totally not difficult at all, despite what they want you to believe, is what I'll show you later. And then there's saturation, which is really nothing more than make things sound bigger and more dense. Very useful. I couldn't live without it myself. And at the end, there are ways to limit the audio to make sure it doesn't go over 0 dB, because that's the absolute ceiling in digital audio. You can choose between actual limiting, which is a form of compression, and clipping, a different animal. So I'm going to talk about all this later. First, let's have a look at the almighty and holy loudness.